Hello, everybody, and thanks for tuning in for today's BUG webinar on the topic of ESG reporting, specifically focused on the CSRD and how to get your ESG reporting and your business steering CSRD ready. And I'm really looking forward to today as we have some interesting sponsors and amazing speakers with us. And I hope you can take a lot with you in the next 90 minutes, roughly. And I am very happy that I'm your host for today, and I will guide you throughout the webinar, and I will host the transition between the speakers. And I'm happy to quickly introduce myself to you. I'm an analyst at BARC. So I cover everything around ESG software, technology for sustainability reporting, and so on. And this is why I'm in the position today to introduce and show you some amazing software solutions to handle ESG reporting. And those will be Acarion, Insight Software, and Precisely. And what's really interesting about today's webinar is definitely that we have three different approaches to ESG reporting, because we have with Acarion and their solution, which is called the ESG Cockpit, a more specialized approach to ESG reporting. Then we have Insight Software, and they call themselves the CFO platform. And we have Precisely, which is a data management suite, so to say. So they cover everything around data quality, data integration, data management in general. So you will definitely see different approaches how those three are handling ESG reporting. And I'm really looking forward to their presentation today myself. But as the time is running and I have some slides with me myself, I will just quickly guide you guys through the agenda today and show you how we will proceed. So in the beginning, I will try to make my introduction really short. I will try to cover everything in roughly 15 minutes or so. We will talk about regulatory compliance, as this is, of course, important for CSRD readiness and the status quo. So how are companies feeling about ESG reporting right now? And we will also talk about drivers, challenges, but also opportunities which companies are facing right now when it comes to sustainability reporting. Afterwards, we will have our speakers first time on stage for a short introduction before we will go into the live presentations and demos. And then in the end, we will host a joint Q&A with every speaker and myself. So feel free to ask any questions in the chat or in the Q&A panel. And if you have a specific question to any speaker or sponsor, just write their name next to your question, and I will try to direct your question to them for the Q&A. And finally, we have prepared a really, really short outro with some steps forward to guide you into your CSRD readiness for efficient ESG reporting. So let's just start with my part, and I will promise I try to make this short, as I want to give our speakers more time themselves to speak to you. So status quo and regulatory compliance is important, of course. But first off, let's probably have a look on the status quo. And this is the thing we asked companies in our latest ESG survey, as well as in our previous ESG surveys. And interestingly, what we can observe here is that right now it's about 50-50. So 50% of companies have already reported on ESG. and the other half is just planning to do this in the future. We were initially at the kipping point here because we expected many companies to publish an ESG report this year, but then the European Union proposed a draft which is called the Omnibus. I guess many of you have heard of it. And this is probably postponing, or this is definitely postponing reporting and publishing deadlines. But there are some other initiatives linked to the Omnibus proposal as well. Anyway, why I wanted to show you guys this is it's right now is the perfect time to have a look into your ESG reporting initiatives, because a couple of years ago, like 2, maybe 3 years, or even 1 year back, we were at a point where companies were getting in a hurry and were feeling a little bit stressed because ESG reporting was just around the corner. And right now, the Omnibus brings relief because of the postponement of reporting deadlines. But I think companies should use this postponement to prepare themselves for what's coming in regards of ESG reporting. And so those companies which are still in planning mode, it's just a good time to have a look into ESG reporting if you have to report, if you want to report voluntarily, and how to do that and prepare yourself to do that. And I hope you can take something with you on how you can prepare yourself for good to be CSRD ready today. Just wanted to talk about it real quick. But what's more interesting is which ESG standards companies are using, because this is also a regulatory topic, which is really interesting. And afterwards, I just mentioned the Omnibus. We, of course, have to talk about the Omnibus and what impact this will have specifically for companies in Europe and the CSRD and the European Sustainability Reporting Standards. So in this chart, you can definitely see that the CSRD is the dominating directive, and the ESRS are the dominating reporting standards in our panel. This is not surprising, as the majority in our panel came from Europe. But still, within this year, we saw a really strong proportion of companies who are looking into CSRD and a little bit less into GRI, which were, for example, stronger last year and even stronger 2 years ago. Also, there are, of course, different standards for ESG reporting, also in Europe, some of them voluntarily. What I wanted to show you here is that, of course, as I just said, the CSRD dominates the EU in regards of reporting, because there's just a regulatory pressure coming to companies, because many of them have to, or initially had to, report on the topic of ESG and sustainability. But interestingly, there are, of course, other frameworks used in parallel. So GRI, for example, is still popular for a lot of companies, either because they have used GRI standards in the past, or they are just using different standards or 2 or more standards for their ESG reporting initiatives. And GRI definitely remains relevant, specifically for companies having global subsidiaries, as it's globally recognized. Then, for example, the IFRS standards are also in place, and they are often used in more investor-focused and finance-focused ESG strategies. But this just shows how much fragmentation there is still. Even so, the CSRD dominates. When we are looking into companies, we see that there are a lot of companies using multiple standards for ESG reporting, or at least exploring the differences between those standards. And while there's a lot of harmonization going on, and some standards are getting closer to each other, there is still big fragmentation in regards of regulatory standards and compliance in regards of ESG reporting, especially when we're looking outside Europe. And this is probably not changing with the omnibus. But if you ask what the omnibus is, let me just give you some quick bullet points to it. Actually, if you do not know what the Omnibus Directive is, a lot of companies we asked in our survey didn't know as well. So don't worry about that. It's a quite new draft proposal from the EU, which is trying to reduce complexity for ESG reporting in regards of the CSRD. And there are also a lot of companies which were not sure what changes would apply. And this is also not surprising because at some point we do not really know what specific changes will apply today already. But finally, what is the Omnibus Directive? As I said, this is a draft proposal from Europe, from the European Union, and they are basically, to break it down, four key initiatives to it. There's a narrowed scope of reporting obligation, so also higher thresholds for companies that have to report. So that will likely reduce the amount of companies that have to publish an ESG report. Then there's postponed timelines and deadlines to it, as I just mentioned on my very first slide. So this postponement is for about 2 years in the future. So companies which would had to report right now are now probably have only to report in about 2 years from now on. Then there's reduced reporting complexity to the standards. So what the European Union, or so to say, the EFRAG, which is working on those standards, on the European Sustainability Reporting Standards, they are trying to reduce reporting complexity. So what they are doing right now is they are reviewing over the 1,000 or more data points which were included in the European Sustainability Reporting Standards initially, and they will focus on quantitative data points. And they will also cut out the sector-specific standards, which were planned to be in place initially as well. And finally, to simplify, they try to simplify external assurance and liability. So there's a lot possible impact driven by the Omnibus proposal. But when we're looking on how companies are feeling about it right now, it's a lot more about the timely relief than about the actual revision of those reporting standards. Which makes sense to me because now companies have a lot more time to report on their ESG initiatives and prepare themselves for ESG reporting. So they see a higher priority in this point than in the actual revision of the reporting standards because, as I just said, we do know what the European Union is trying to do, but we do not know specifically what will be reduced and what will still be in place. Even so, they are making progress on it, and they also reported on their progress. And the initial time plan was to have a first draft ready by October. Also, I want to show or want to have a look at the bottom of this chart because it's just 9%, but still nearly 10% of companies are going the extra mile. So they are doing more than they have to do. They are using, for example, CSRD standards, even so they do not have to use it because of their company size, for example, or they are using multiple standards for ESG reporting. So there are a lot, or there is a growing part of companies which is really seeing ESG reporting as a beneficial topic, and also push the topic because they want to do and not because they have to. And then finally, I think this is the last slide when it comes to regulatory compliance. We also ask companies how or what they think, how much the omnibus regulation would reduce their ESG reporting effort. And we saw some major key initiatives coming with that Omnibus Directive, as I just showed you. But interestingly, only a small portion of companies is seeing very significant or at least significant reductions for their ESG reporting efforts. And majority of companies is rather looking into no reduction or only moderate reduction when it comes to their ESG reporting initiatives. So this is quite interesting because, especially for companies with ongoing projects, they often still go on with their initiatives when it comes to sustainability reporting. While companies which have not yet started are more into a wait and see approach. But overall, there are mixed expectations to it, and I think this will sharpen as some time goes by this year, and it gets clearer and clearer what really will be adjusted when it comes to the actual reporting standards. But right now, there's some relief to many companies because of the postponement of reporting deadlines. And while I'm a little bit over time, I will try to make the next slides quite short, but feel free to come back to me if you want to know anything else about them or discuss the insights. So first of the drivers. I already told you that companies are looking into ESG reporting not only because of regulatory compliance, but for a lot of other reasons as well. While regulation is now the top driver, it wasn't last year and it wasn't the years before. This just evolved to be the top driver because of the CSRD getting closer and closer. Right now, this probably takes a little step back because of the omnibus proposal. But still, we saw this year and also last year and the years before that reputation just remains a strong motivator over the years. And we do not only mean reputation among customers. When you're looking in on the bottom of the chart, it's also about reputation among the financial market, among actual and future employees, among suppliers, and so on. Also, third most important driver, we just introduced this option this year, so we do not have any historic comparison here, is that ESG reporting more and more reflects core values of a company. It will be interesting to see how this evolves because a colleague of mine told me in good times, people or companies are doing ESG for good reasons, and in bad times they're doing it for the bad reasons, which is well, interesting and kind of funny, I think, but because regulatory compliance is not always bad, but I get what you meant by it. What I wanted to show you here is or what I just wanted to say and state is that ESG becomes a tool for reputation in the last decade. It gets more and more beliefs of a company getting into it, and also reputation and market-facing impacts, which play a role here. And with this multidimensional ESG reporting process, there are, of course, different software solutions in place to support companies and departments to do ESG reporting. And we specifically had a look into which functions and processes are supported by software solutions right now in companies. And on top of it, you can see data management. But looking at this chart, you can just see that it's also just as multidimensional as the drivers to ESG reporting. So ESG just spans from data management to operation and finance, like planning and forecasting processes or analysis, to specialty domains like carbon accounting and materiality assessment. So there's just a lot to ESG reporting when you're thinking about it end to end. So you have to start with your data management at one point, and in the end, you have to publish a report when it out of reporting. But in between, there's a lot of functions to, and of course, software solutions are supporting those functions. So with that being said, a lot of and a lot of compliance often creates complexity. And with complexity, there are challenges to ESG reporting as well. And a good, a good slide to discuss today in this webinar, because on top of it, again, you have management. So it's about data quality, data reliability, and also the handling of different. And this is not surprising because when we are looking at ESG reporting, the fragmented ESG data landscape. So what does this mean? This means that ESG report, you have not only to get your internal data ready, also to get external data, and this external data comes from a lot along your value chain, and also it comes in a lot of different form types, and this is just challenging. So data management got more important, still a top challenge for companies. Data and data out of different data sources with different quality. There's some high manual workload, ESG reporting, and this also often leads to some overload, because using Excel or Excel tool, and many users have access to it, but this doesn't help a lot of data, of course. And there are some other challenges to it, like and the unclear definition of requirements, for example, which we see us right now, and also the time pressure, which is probably not as important at the to the Omnibus, but still, despite using software solutions, there and will always be problems to it which can be optimized. And this is my last slide before getting the speakers on stage. When looking at the opportunities, this just shows you, besides data management, which is the front runner when it comes to opportunities and reporting, there's a lot of opportunity ESG reporting across all stages. So right on top here, you can see high and medium potential, high potential in the dark blue, and medium potential blue data integration issues. But overall, you can see topics like measuring the financial impact of ESG, or just general opportunities like KPI management, and looking at all this different blue colors, you can just see a lot of potential to ESG reporting process. And with that said, I'm a little bit over time. right now, I'm really happy to welcome Mitch van der Linde from Acarion, Jamie Egan from Inside Source, also Andrew Mumford and Sean Connolly from Precisely. So you, Mitch, and I guess it's good morning for Jamie, Andrew, and Sean.
Hello,
And I'm happy to have you here.
great to be here.
Thank you. Great to be here as well.
Yeah.
Thank you.
What I would plan to do right now is I have some questions prepared for each one of you, and probably you could introduce yourself real quick, give me your thoughts on my question, and then in the end we will proceed with your software presentations, and we will start with Precisely. Then we will have Mitch presenting the ESG cockpit and Acarion. And in the end, Jamie will show us how this all comes together when it's about integrating ESG reporting and finance-related functions on their CFO platform. So, Mitch, I would actually like to start with you because you're the first one on this slide as well.
Yeah.
Looking at the mixed feedback on the Omnibus, I just showed you guys. What role do you see in the Omnibus proposal and in the CSRD going forward? And what role does voluntary reporting standards will play in the future? For example, the VSME standard, which is like a CSRD light, so to say, because we have not talked about this so far yet.
Yeah, well, regarding the omnibus, I think what it's managed to achieve up to now, first and foremost, is create a great amount of insecurity for everyone within the ESG reporting space. But it's safe to say that the VSME standard will most likely grow in relevance, seeing as the scope for the CSRD is being widened. And it will probably also go beyond its initial intended scope. So even despite the omnibus, there will be market-driven demand for ESG data from investors or financial institutions, insurances, and of course, all the companies that remain ESRS obligated within the supply chain. It's safe to say that using, for example, a voluntary report or the VSME standard is a great way and a very low threshold to refine both your data collection and management processes and also the reporting process. So should any data requests come from any of the aforementioned institutions, then having a solid reporting process and all the available data that these standards lay out means you are probably well prepared for any requests that come your way. So I think that using a VSME to maybe start off your reporting process is a great way to get into the ESG reporting.
All right. Thank you very much, Mitch. I would agree. Yeah, you can build on the VSME and voluntary standards later on still. Yeah. All right, Jamie, you're second. I introduced Inside Software as the CFO platform. And we also touched on some finance functions when it comes to ESG reporting or some finance-related functions. So in your view, what role should finance play in ESG reporting?
Sure. So thank you everybody for joining today. Just a quick introduction. I'm head of product at Insight Software for our EPM and controllership solutions, and specifically disclosure management. So from a finance perspective, generally our view and our take is, the compliance side of ESG reporting incorporates or is part and parcel of an organization's close process or disclosure management process. And we believe that these teams bring together not only the environmental data, the sustainability data and governance, but there's financial components that are mixed in with that. And an organization that is fulfilling its reporting requirements ultimately wants to have a tool set to bring that data together at the group level, the various jurisdictional levels, to compile and deliver that the sustainability reporting in conjunction with their normal disclosure statements, let's say around the 10K or the 10Q or the quarterly or annual disclosure statements that they might have. So I think there's a view that bringing that data together in a consolidated state where you can view and report on financial performance, environmental performance, sustainability performance through a common platform provides a great deal of value for an organization.
All right. Thank you very much, Jamie, as well. And finally, Andrew and Sean, while we talked about the role of finance and disclosure management, for example, there's the data management at the very beginning of ESG reporting, of course. And in a minute, we will see your solution to data management. But beyond software, what would you think would really help companies to make progress when it comes to data management? Because as we saw, a lot of companies are saying that this is the main challenge for them when it comes to sustainability reporting.
Yeah, so thanks for having us. I'm Sean Connolly, and I lead our strategic data services. And really what I see working with clients all over the world around not just ESG reporting and regulatory reporting, but it really is about the people, the process, and the technology. So while you're going to see some great software from us and the fellow panelists, I mean, I think it's super important that the change management component of the people in the organization, getting to the why, getting people excited about, it's not just reporting for the sake of reporting, we're trying to make a difference. Is super critical. So our approach that you'll hear us talk about and you'll see is very much focusing kind of on all three of those to prepare our data for, again, the people, the process, and the technology, because it kind of doesn't matter whether it's CSRD, all of the regulations. We see it with AI, we see it with just even basic data management. It's not an IT problem. It's not necessarily a tool problem or challenge. It really is the people, process, and the technology. So yeah, we're excited to be here and kind of share our experiences and insights.
Yeah, really looking forward to your presentation. And yeah, I totally agree as well here, because data culture is just a very important topic, and data culture would sum it up when it comes to all the challenges around data management, at least when it comes to culture in the company. All right, so to go on with the sponsor sessions and live demos, I would like to keep Sean and Andrew on stage as I would like to start with you. And then we will have Mitch for the second presentation and Jamie in the end. So for the next approximately 15 minutes, the stage is all yours, Sean and Andrew.
Great. Thanks. I'll kind of kick us off, and then I'll pass off to Andrew. So I think Andrew's going to share his screen. So just real quickly, who Precisely is, I think we're probably one of the best known, least known companies. We've been around actually since 1968, very much focused on data. So I would say a leader in the technology and data space for a long, long time. And then through the years, we've very much focused on acquiring leading practice software and services as well in order to deliver trusted data. So we're a global company, nearly $1 billion, 93 of the Fortune 100, and 2,500 employees. So we get to work with clients all over the world in nearly every industry, from financial and banking to manufacturing to government agencies, you name it, and we're probably working with them. We get the honor and the privilege to work with them. So that's who Precisely is, squarely focused on data and delivering trusted data. Go ahead, Andrew. And so I just wanted to put this next slide up because really in everything we do, it's about the why. Like, why are we doing this? And so really it's important to understand and get the organization behind mapping these regulatory requirements, especially CSRD, to the business. So from the annual report to what critical business do we need, critical data do we need, all of those data management elements that are super important, that are part of ensuring that we're not just delivering the reports to meet the requirements, but we're also changing the business and always getting better. So we look at this as really driving, go ahead and click, Andrew, really driving down to impacting operations. So whether it's manufacturing efficiency, supply chain efficiencies, looking at how we're leveraging our buildings, looking at our employees, making sure we're delivering positive experiences, enabling them to make good and economical and valuable decisions. Certainly being competitive from a competitor standpoint. I mean, in the information that you shared, I find it interesting that people are, a lot of it's kind of reputation and regulatory requirements. But at the end of the day, I do think that most organizations are very much interested in just being better, being more efficient, being a better place to work, ensuring that our employees are doing well, enjoy their work, and are efficient and effective, and that our customers like to work with us. So our approach is very much focused on ensuring that we're taking a holistic view. And go ahead, Andrew. And so, as I mentioned, we really do focus on the why. And I think clients are finding that we are that trusted partner. Like, we're just going to be honest with people and very direct. We've just have so much experience through our professional and strategic services, the companies that we've acquired and built into this super powerful suite to not just enable a framework that meets this particular regulatory requirement, but kind of overall and ensures the efficiency and effectiveness of your business, of future proofing for AI. And then we do have this comprehensive offering that it combines both the software, the people, the process, and the technology. And then we're always going to be driving to make an impact on your business and ensure that it's a measurable impact. So with that, I'll pass off to Andrew, and he'll kind of share kind of the journey and what our solution does. And I'll add color commentary, Andrew, if that's all right.
Brilliant. Yeah, thank you, Sean. So yeah, just to set the scene very briefly, today what I'll be talking about, the use case I'll be focusing on, is how we can help you increase the accuracy of sustainability reporting across your organization. So to do that, really, you need to understand your key systems and data and processes and so on that supports your ESG initiatives. You need to be able to catalog your critical assets and understand the end-to-end picture of them, so how they're flowing across your organization, so that you can provide the trusted data for reporting and make it more accurate. However, some of the challenges that I see customers facing on a regular basis are the inability, first of all, to identify the right data. There's a low trust in data quality, so be able to understand that, assess it, remediate it, and those time-consuming reporting processes, being able to report much more quickly, and part of that is getting the full picture of your data so that you can react quickly to changes in the data. And the solution that we're going to be looking at today is the Precisely Data Integrity Suite. So I'm just going to change my screen. So you should be able to see this here. So this is our Precisely Data Integrity Suite. It's a next generation SaaS solution that contains a range of fully integrated services. It's very modular, so you don't need to start with everything. You start with whichever is most relevant for you. And that includes areas like data integration, breaking down those data silos to move data in real time to new cloud environments, for example. Data quality that I mentioned, to assess the quality of your data and remediate it. Data observability, which is more of a proactive form of data quality, to uncover anomalies within the data using machine learning before they become issues downstream. Precisely also has a strong heritage in the location intelligence space. We can very quickly verify, standardize, cleanse geocode addresses, overlay that with really rich data sets. So that could be things like demographics, points of interest, natural catastrophes, all location focused, and spatial analytics. And of course, all this is tied together with governance, really, because you're storing your data for a purpose. It will be governed. Understanding what data you have, could you use it? Should you use it? How should you use it? A lot of that is answered by governance. And this is built on top of our foundation, which includes a data catalog. And this is really critical because we have advanced harvesting technology, so we can connect to all of your different data sources and understand the reality of your data estate. so that you can then govern it and so on. So I'm going to link out to our governance solution now. So this is our governance solution. It's part of the data integrity suite, but of course you can see that the look and feel is slightly different, and this is because we can customize it to adapt to different organizations. And this is really important because it makes it really easy to adopt across organizations. So you can adapt the logo, the font, the colors, the shortcuts, and so on. And you can see on the home screen here, you've got links to some of the assets that I find useful for me personally, like my data products, my data policies. But front, right, and center, we have a global search, very powerful, to search across all of the assets. On the left, we have different menus. So obviously my favorites, we have my goals and objectives, my business glossaries, my policies, that could be internal or external, that are governing the data. And today I'm going to be taking two different approaches to help increase the accuracy of sustainability reporting. So the first is more of a business goals perspective, and then afterwards we'll look at how we can easily search and find relevant data assets. So if I go to my goals and objectives here on the left, what we're looking at here are the goals that we have documented. So you can see the owner, the status of the goal, the governance score. You can see different goals like improve employee retention, improve order fulfillment, improve visibility of ESG information. But the one I'm particularly interested in today is the increased accuracy of sustainability reporting. So if I click into that, you can see the status, it's an active status. You can see the name, the owners, the CEO, some of the related objectives. But one of the best ways to really get a full picture of the goal is to go to our diagram. So I'm going to have a look at our impact diagram. So we can see here at the top, we have our goal, increase accuracy of sustainability reporting. And this provides a 360-degree view of everything that's related to it. So you can see there are two different objectives that are driven by that goal. So increased understanding and trust in the ESG assets and reduce manual effort of ESG reporting. So a business user can go in and understand very quickly what's related. And these objectives, they're measured by data quality score of ESG assets raised to 99%. And then you can drill this down further. So this is actually related to a number of different assets. So we have here our business travel, our carbon footprint, our energy consumption across different offices and vehicles, greenhouse gases, renewable energy. And then I could open up this further in the relationships and understand what it's actually mapped to. So this is mapped to a range of technical assets. So I could click here on the carbon footprint and understand actually this is related to all of these different 6 technical assets. You can see how the goal drives these different objectives. They're measured by different metrics, and it goes all the way down to different technical assets. So being able to, within a few clicks, understand the technical assets that are related to my particular goals.
Which, Andrew, if I may, I mean, that's super important, right? I mean, how many times does somebody make a change to a field, or there's a change in a data lake? And, I mean, understanding the impact of, making a change in the organization, super critical, and be able to see all the downstream results, because it might be impacting CSRD reporting, but it might also be just regular KPIs in the organization. So doing that impact analysis, very critical and very powerful.
Yeah, thank you. And yeah, you don't know what you don't know. Everyone who has responsibility around the asset can input what they know, and then that will build up a fuller picture so we can all understand. So the other approach I was going to take was using searching. So I was interested in my carbon footprint. You could just start typing carbon footprint in the global search, or search across all the assets. I could then filter down if there are too many, but here it's found it very quickly. You can see carbon footprint. At the top, it's got a certified status. This means it's been through a workflow to certify the status. So it's been approved by the relevant stakeholders, and we'll see workflows in a minute. But you can see here, we've got the name, the user rating, we've got the ability to capture user feedback and feed it in to the platform, a description, whether it's a critical data element, the sensitivity level, whether it contains PII, and all of this is very customizable. So we have a very flexible meta model within the solution. You can decide what is important for you as an organization, and you can change this over time. So whether you want to capture whether it contains PII, if that's important or not, you don't have to. It's very easy to capture the fields and context that you need, and we can extract it from external solutions and put it into the tool. You can also see who is involved. So I have a business owner and a data steward. I could reach out to them. Good to point out, if I click on any link in the page, you'll get a preview on the right. I can also reach out to them through the comments. So I might ask Mandy a question. Mandy, can you provide more detail about this asset from something specific? And the benefit there is that someone just needs to ask the question once and everyone else can benefit from that answer. So it will save that SME or data owner from answering the same question 150 times. You can also take action using our powerful workflow capabilities. So maybe I've got a specific question on the asset. Maybe I want to request a change, request access to a data set. You can build any type of workflow to fit your needs. And this, when I fill out with my reasons and my particular dates, kick off a workflow, it'll get approved or not approved, and you can track that centrally. So it allows you to set up a structured governance program in your organization. And if you scroll down, you can see what other assets it's related to, like we've got the goals that's driving it, the objectives, and the data quality score that we saw earlier. And lower down, you can see the regulatory policies. So what are the different policies that are governing it? So we have the CSRD reporting, we have our financial disclosure reporting, their TCFD reporting. We have a related business process. We have our data quality rules, and you can link out to any of these. And then we have the different technical assets. And again, I could click on any asset, get a preview here on the right, understand whether interested in looking into it more. So here I see there's a data quality score of 88%. I could maybe open this up in a new tab, get a bit more understanding. I'll just show it very briefly just for time's sake. You can see some high-level data quality metrics here, the row count, the sampling. It's a string data type. It contains valid values. There are no duplicates there. There are no outliers, nulls or blanks. You can see the range in values. If I go to the scoring, I can get a picture of the data quality score of this asset. So we've got some data quality checks in completeness and conformity. You can create any kind of data quality rule. And you can also, if you've already got a data quality solution, you can feed that into our tool and we can track how it's measured over time. And if I go back to the carbon footprint asset, I can look at the scoring as well. So we can look at the data quality score at the carbon footprint level. So whether it's conformity, validity, accuracy, and so on, and you can build out quality rules to check that. But we also have a governance score, and this is where you can track what is important for you as an organization, what means that this is well governed. And in this case, is there a business owner assigned? Is the data steward assigned? Is there a description populated? Is this data certified? You can build out any type of criteria, and it allows you to understand where this sits in your governance process, and it allows you to track the progress over time. So you can easily report on this and understand, okay, which assets are not compliant with my regulations. And then lastly, I just wanted to look at diagrams. So we saw an impact diagram earlier, similar to this. This is from the carbon footprint point of view, but I wanted to show the lineage diagram. And this is really important because within the solution, we capture the lineage of your different assets and you can understand the flow of data across your organization. So the carbon footprint maps to a range of technical assets. These flow into this enterprise data mart here and into this one, and then it flows back into a snowflake here. And then if I expand this out, you can see that it flows into a sustainability report. I can check the details on that. You see, it's actually a Power BI report. And why this is useful, it's useful for a range of different users. So if you're a data analyst, you may want to understand the provenance of the data in your report. If you're a business user, you want to understand if you can trust this report. You open up the report, where's the data actually coming from? Can I trust it? Your data engineer could use this to go and identify where there are quality issues in the data pipelines to go and fix it. All of this ensures that you understand where your data comes from, where it's going, and if you can trust it. So here we know where the data is going into our sustainability report. Where is it coming from? If I look at the impact diagram, we can also get a fuller picture of this carbon footprint from a business perspective. What is it impacting? What's maps to it? So you can see There are different policies that are governing it. There are different tables that are related to it, and we talked about the objectives and the goals, quality rules, but also there is a business process that's related to it. So if I show some details on that, so this is the site assessment process. It's used to internally to assess the current site and its effectiveness. So let's have a look at this in a new tab. And I can open the process diagram for this. So we can also capture the business processes that are using your data. So you're really getting the full picture of how your data is being used, not just from a technical lineage perspective, how it's actually moving, but also what assets are impacted by it, and here what business processes are using it. So you can see the site assessment process, it kicks off. It's got different steps. You need to gather the site information, the employee data, capture it for reporting, collate it. Once it's validated, you can present your findings and create the results and publish and share them. And at every step on the way, I can click on these steps and understand what are the assets that are related to this business process. So if I just wrap up really, I'll go back to the carbon footprint that we were at earlier. We're able to see the technical lineage of the asset, how that's moving across the organization, how it's populating the sustainability reports, the business process that's actually creating that report. We're able to understand how the goals are driving the objectives and metrics to monitor this in the organization. So being able to get a really good picture. But if I want to know more, if I've got a particular question, as I mentioned earlier, I could easily raise questions within the solution using our workflows. And this is very easy to build out using our workflow capability. Here, I could pick one just to open up and show you. It's a low code, no code environment. It allows you to build them in a graphical way. So I'm not a developer. All you need to do is just drag and drop onto the canvas and link them up. So here, workflow gets kicked off by someone selecting it. It triggers a field change. The status becomes under review. It launches a form, which gets sent to, in this case, Christopher Reed, with a subject. And they get an approval. Should it be certified, or if not, why not? And then the relevant requester gets notified. There's a field change if it's approved, and then it's finished. So you can easily build out very simple to very advanced workflows, integrate with third-party systems. All of this in order to ensure that your assets are properly governed in a structured way that you can monitor. And lastly, to wrap up really, I'll just show the dashboarding capability. So within the solution, we have the ability to create dashboards, but also integrate with any third-party dashboarding solutions. So if you've got a Power BI or a Click or a Tableau, we can integrate with that. And the benefit there is that you can very easily track the progress of your data governance initiatives. So whether that be ESG reporting, compliance with the EU AI Act, or any other kind of metric. So here, as an example, this isn't specific to ESG, but here we're looking at the average governance score trend by month, the leaderboards, the score by responsibility, also my bottom governance scores. So these would probably be the assets that I want to start with in order to improve their quality. But it provides a nice structured way for you to track the progress of your reporting. So just to wrap up really, hopefully I was able to show you really how you could, leveraging the solution, understand that your data assets, understand the ones that are related to your ESG initiatives and reports, increase the trust in your data, reduce that manual effort of managing your data and providing that deep visibility into what's feeding your sustainability reporting so that you could improve the accuracy of it. And if there are any issues in it, identify them quickly and remediate them. So
All
hopefully that was
right.
of interest.
Thank you very much, Andrew
You're
and
welcome.
Sean.
I'll stop
Really,
sharing.
really insightful. Yes, please stop sharing. And I'm looking forward to the Q&A in the end. I have some questions myself, of course. Right now, I would like to welcome Mitch on stage. And while we are getting Mitch on stage, I would like to apologize for my bad connection. I have read in the chat that I had some technical hiccups when it came to my audio and video. So sorry for that, but I can confirm, Andrew, Sean, we heard you perfectly, and you are the important guys here next to Mitch and Jamie. So, Mitch, we are ready for your presentation. All right. Mitch, I will, we are just waiting a couple more seconds to get you on stage. All right, we can see your video now, and your audio is there as well.
Great. Yeah, hello to everyone who's joined us today. I realized I didn't introduce myself earlier. My name's Mitch. I'm part of the ESG cockpit team at Akarion and customer manager. Today I'll be showing you our ESG data management and reporting tool, ESG Cockpit. So I'll just share my screen. There we go. So now I should be able to see my screen.
Yes, we can see it.
Great, thanks. The ESG Cockpit is a ESG data management and reporting tool. So hopefully we'll be able to support you in successfully managing your reporting process and getting you CSRD ready. Today we'll be creating an ESRS report together. The ESG Cockpit is a modular tool. We offer a variety of reporting modules. Also, the VSME reporting standard is fully implemented within the tool and ready for reporting. And thanks to our centralized data structure, we are very quick to adapt to any of the reporting or regulatory changes that might be coming our way in the upcoming months. We also have a variety of other ESG tools, such as the ESG portal, which is used for ESG surveys, and an AI-based emissions factor engine, which can calculate emissions factors. These can all be integrated into the ESG cockpit, but you can also use the ESG cockpit as a standalone tool. So let's switch into the ESG cockpit. As you can see, it's a web-based SaaS tool, and upon logging in, you are greeted by the welcome page. On the welcome page, we have a variety of drop-down menus which offer helpful information on your workflow and also the current state of your progress. We have, for example, a drop-down menu called Analysis. This is a fully customizable where we can show input data of interest to us. I've chosen to show the scope 1, 2, and 3 emissions of my company and also its total energy consumption. But you could also choose to show the number of employees or maybe the amount of a resource you're currently using of interest. Or maybe the Get Started drop-down. This is particularly useful for new users or any user roles that you put into the cockpit. Here we can find helpful information as links to the handbooks and our download page and FAQs. So we do offer webinars and of course trainings for anybody who uses the tool, but should you want to teach it yourself, you can do so using the Get Started. But let's now start with an ESRS report. We see here the ESRS navigation side menu. We recommend this to all our new users as it will guide you through the mandatory steps you have to take to generate a report. In dark blue, we see the mandatory steps, and in gray and light blue, we see additional steps that you can take. So to start, step 1 is creating a time frame or our reporting period. So we'll click here. And it will guide us to the timeframes page. We can think of timeframes as our project files. So much like any other Office tool, we create a timeframe or a project file, and we can have as many timeframes as we would like. So as many project files as we would like. And to create a new timeframe, we simply clicked on new timeframe here. So this is free for you to choose. We could define it as a quarter, maybe an entire reporting year, or maybe there's a certain project that we would like to track. So to create the time frame, we simply give it a name. Let's call it Demo Bark. And we'll choose the time frame to be for this current year. And then all we do is hit save. And then the tool immediately guides us to the next step, which is to create an org chart. And the org chart consists of nodes. It's so you can structure the reporting entity in any way you want, starting off with a root node. And we could choose, for example, to have just locations, or maybe we want to subdivide our reporting entity into operational subgroups. And by clicking on the plus, we can add a leaf node. So here now we are in the mask to create a leaf node. Let's say we have a headquarters, the Bark HQ. We also have to choose a country because that determines which emissions factors the database uses to calculate our emissions. And also, for example, the electricity mix. We're based in Germany. Our currency is euro, so that's correct. And down here, the final thing we have to choose is the navigation items we would like to include within this node. So the navigation items are arranged by topics. Today, I think we will like to include maybe just environmental data. So we'll click on that. And then after we hit save, we've created our leaf node. If we realize we've made a mistake later on, we'd like to include more topics within the node, or maybe rename it. We can do so via edit node. We can also add more nodes to this leaf node, or if we have several nodes, we can also move it to another part of the node. We have clients who work with small org charts like this, and we also have clients who work with several hundred nodes. It really depends on your use case and the size of your company. So after we've created our time frame and the org chart, it's time to do our materiality assessment. So for this, I'll switch to a pre-prepared time frame. And here we can see a larger organizational chart. Here, the root node, which is where all our input data is aggregated, and I've divided it into an administration, a production unit with a factory and a warehouse, and another location in Austria. You can also see that we have the chance to upload images so that we can also immediately visually distinguish between these nodes. So now that we have our org chart ready, let's go to the materiality assessment via the side menu. We can conduct the materiality assessment within the ESG cockpit. We see here a central threshold. This determines when a sustainability matter becomes material or not. And down here, we see all the aspects that are included in the ESRS standards. For example, if I go here to E1 climate change, I can click on materiality analysis. And then on this next page, we can do our inside out and our outside in assessment. So impact materiality. And down here, we have our financial materiality. We can add as many IROs as we require. And based on our inputs, like likelihood, scale, and scope, the tool then automatically calculates the materiality score of this particular input. And based on that, it determines whether something is material or immaterial. The tool also generates several graphs. An ESG comparison, for example, where we have a pie chart of the ESG pillars and the corresponding material and immaterial aspects. Or maybe a score comparison where we can see at one glance all of the IROs we've input, whether they are positive or negative, and whether they surpass the threshold that we've set. Because we also have the possibility to set a threshold for each aspect individually, should we maybe want to be a bit more stringent about certain aspects. And down here we have a matrix with all the points. We can also always click here and download these graphs in various file formats. And here we have a summary of our materiality assessment explaining the overall materiality analysis, and we can download that or export it. So now that we've done our materiality assessment and we've determined which matters are material, we can move on to the data entry. So step 11, data entry. We're guided to our data entry mask, and here's our org chart from earlier again, but now we can see a green and a blue bar. The green bar shows the completion rate, so how much of the data has been input until we are completed, and the blue bar shows the overall data quality of the data we are inputting. The ESG cockpit distinguishes between 3 qualities of data. We have exact data, estimated data, and calculated data, and the overall data quality is a percentage of the best quality that you've input. So let's go via our admin node into the aforementioned environmental topic. And here we can see a variety of navigational items. Here we have our environment, which is subdivided into further topics, all with their own completion rates. But we have also got the chance to maybe input our data via an indicator-based input list. So here, via the search bar, we could, for example, go to E15, which is energy consumption and mix, and then we'll find all the required data points that we need to fill for our ESRS report. So here, renewable energy carriers, for example, over via the plus, I can add an additional row. Let's choose biodiesel as our energy carrier. And what we can see here is that the tool is running a plausibility check in the background. So should I be below or exceed a set value, the tool will alert me to the discrepancy. So if I were to put in 600 liters of biodiesel, it would see that there might be an issue with the data that I'm inputting. But if I choose 400, it'll give me the thumbs up. So I know that based on previous reports that we might have done with the tool, this is more likely to be accurate data. So again, here are our data qualities: estimated, calculated, and accurate. Perhaps this is accurate data. Here we have a comment field, so we can explain where our data come from or how we've calculated it. And we can also upload a file directly to the data point, perhaps an invoice from your energy provider, for example. And for audit purposes, of course, the ESG cockpit is always tracking all the changes and inputs you are making to the report. So for auditing purposes, we can export this file so that we can always trace back who and what changes were made. So now that we've input our data, let's hit save. So now we've made a time frame. We have an org chart. We defined which data is material to us via the assessment, and we've input that data into the ESG cockpit. The next step would be to generate a report. But before that, I would like to show you 2 other functions that we can now do with the data that we've input into the tool. So if we go here via, for example, down here, we have an add-on, the analysis, but I'll go via the menu up here to a template that I've prepared. We can create our own dashboards. So for this demo, I've prepared a dashboard with the E15 and E16 indicator, which is energy consumption and gross emissions. I'll just click down here. So here we have all the data points within these indicators and also the corresponding XBRL tag for each data point. Next to each data point, we can create a pie chart. So for example, we have all the nodes here from the org chart that we created and the percentage of energy consumption for each of these entities. Again, we can immediately download this in various files. And here we have a table view of the nodes in our org chart with, for example, the total energy consumption related to our operations in megawatt hours, or down here, the emissions in CO2 equivalents. But should we maybe want to make comparisons here straight away, we could go to settings and choose, for example, absolute pairwise. And now the tool will show us, okay, my factory consumes 45 megawatt hours and my warehouse consumes 29. My warehouse consumes 15 megawatt hours less than my factory does, and the location in Austria also consumes a little bit less energy. Or maybe we could look to our emissions, and we see that our warehouse emits far less tons of scope 2 emissions. We can also show this data in a variety of different charts, like a bar chart or a line chart. The bar chart view, we can also immediately see, for example, here, E15 and 6, our factory uses 96% renewable sources, which is great. And in Austria, we're still stuck using fossil fuels. And what we can also do with our data on, for example, the home on the welcome page, we can create target pathways and then show these on the welcome page. So for Spark webinar, I've chosen to, with the baseline that we've now created, to project a 5% reduction in emissions to the year 2030. So I can track how should my emissions reduce to reach the target that I've set for myself in 2030. And this is, of course, always updated with the data that you're inputting into the ESG cockpit. So now we've done some analysis as well, we can go ahead and generate our report via the step 12, the overview of ESRS. Here we can choose the type of evaluation that we would like to do. Node, we can select certain nodes that we'd like to include, like if we have our entity grouped into locations, we could choose to only include locations, for example, in Europe, or maybe locations only in the US, for example. But today we will do it across the entire time frame, which is then immediately selected by the tool. Here we can choose the factor version, which determines the emissions factors that are being used. We have a partnership with the Austrian Environmental Agency, and for any other emissions factors, we use EcoInvent. So you can be sure that these emissions factors are always up to date and correct. I would like to include all the indicators that I've input, and before generating the report, I can briefly check if what I am generating is complete. So we have the right time frame, you can see the completion rate and the data quality again. You can see the summary on our materiality assessment and how we've included the stakeholders. Down here again, we can see how we've determined the materiality aspects and the related threshold. And here we have the materiality analysis, on each indicator and data point. So I think this looks good. So all we need to do now is click on Download Overview Report, and then the tool will automatically generate a sustainability statement for us. So I'll go ahead and open that. And here we have our finished ESRS report. So some information on the time frame I've used, when did I create this, who created it, our table of contents, and again, all the graphs that I showed earlier, of course, are also included for the materiality assessment. Any tables that I may have created during my analysis can be included. And if we go to our indicator that we input earlier in E15 energy consumption, we can see that is also listed here in a tabular form, again with the corresponding XBRL tag. So this is an open format. You can also download the data in a variety of other file formats should you want to import it into any other software tools you might be using. And you can also always import data from other softwares into our ESG cockpit. So yeah, that's it. That's how easy it is with ESG cockpit to generate a finished ESRS report. I'll now close this again, and I'll go to our final slide, which includes a QR code which you can scan, so you are directed directly to our website where you can arrange a demo with us, and we would be very happy to show you the many other functions that the ESG cockpit offers, or maybe some of our other ESG tools like the ESG portal or the AI-based engine. I'll also put the link into the chat in case the QR code doesn't work for you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mitch, for the presentation and the insights. Probably we could cover some more stuff around your ESG portal in the Q&A as well. So thank you for now. And last but definitely not least, Jamie, I would like to welcome you on stage and have a look into your CFO platform and how ESG reporting and the Office of the CFO come together.
Great, thank you very much. Let me start sharing here. Okay. All right, so very quickly, for those that aren't familiar, Insight Software is a comprehensive provider of solutions for the Office of the CFO. We're about 600 million in revenue now, and over 500,000 users across our various solutions, 32,000 customers, and around 2,500 employees. Ultimately, we have users in 150 countries, and that is, we believe, something that's applicable to the ESG space. Our focus is really providing solutions that allow organizations to move in actionable insights, a high level of automation, and trusted predictability. So our solutions are integrated, and that leads to greater productivity. So before we dive into the solution, we kind of wanted to talk about some of the key things and the CSRD reality check. And obviously, Chris touched on sort of the omnibus updates that are in flight. My fellow colleagues on the call with Mitch and Chris, or I'm sorry, Andrew and Sean as well. But ultimately, organizations with the omnibus are now, faced with critical questions around what's our plan and will we be ready for that first CSRD filing. Now, fortunately, with the delay, organizations are getting a chance to reassess and continue to drive forward. But ultimately, it's still critical that they need to be able to trust their ESG data under the regulatory scrutiny. And how do we minimize the risk of failure? And when we talk about that, we're like when you're adopting new technology, processes, and people, and this goes directly, I think, to Sean and Andrew's points, is that it's really the merging of technology, people, and process that are critical to addressing these requirements. But it's critical, and according to BARC, that the data quality and integration is really the #1 challenge. And I think we've developed an approach to help address that as well. So when we think about sort of the challenge associated with ESG, there's ultimately, we think, 3 tiers. You've got the regulatory pressure on the top, the CSRD compliance deadlines. You have XBRL tagging requirements and complexity that goes into that, and the subject matter expertise that goes into that. And then ultimately, the data, once it's reported in a regulatory format, audit scrutiny demands investor-grade accuracy, right? So yes, involuntary, you still want your data to be accurate, but it's voluntary. On the regulatory side, it's much more auditable, and the scrutiny on that data is critical. And then you have that organizational, and that kind of gets into that people and process that was touched on by the members from Precisely. Finance teams have resource constraints. ESG groups can be separate from finance, but oftentimes, in our experience, at least at the enterprise level, there is a reporting into the finance structure as it relates to ESG, because there is some overlap in that data. Okay, and the teams and the resource constraints within those finance teams for the longer implementation cycles. And oftentimes, ESG data is scattered across multiple systems and contributors. You have your HRM, you have carbon accounting software potentially, you have financial related, you have quantitative and qualitative responses. And these manual processes that might exist within an organization create compliance risk. And then finally, you have that technology foundation down at the bottom. Data quality varies across those sources. there's integration complexity, and the more data sources that you incorporate increases with each system. So you get into things around data meshing, master data management, and then you want reporting workflows and automation. Fortunately, Insight Software, we have a large number of connection capabilities. We've originally started from an ERP reporting, but we now are sort of source system agnostic, where we're able to consume and mesh data together through our platform. But oftentimes, solutions may only address one layer, and success requires really solving all three simultaneously. So, we have sort of three approaches in our session today, and I would say that there's a little bit of similarity, but not necessarily, 100% alignment. But we kind of view the approaches to ESG compliance through three main categories. Custom build approach, where an organization may invest through a data lake or a data warehouse to build and bring that data together, along with other key reporting requirements that they might have both internally and externally. Your sustainability first tools, where obviously they're deep SME as it relates to environmental reporting, carbon capture, carbon accounting type of solutions. And then ultimately our approach is really around sort of meshing EPM and ESG content through the native consolidation and modeling reporting capabilities of our EPM platforms and our financial platforms, frankly. And we believe this gives us an advantage around bringing a complete solution that brings in your environment, sustainability, governance, your financial, quantitative and qualitative, and the native modeling capabilities that these solutions provide inherently. And ultimately, the goal is to provide solutions that bring organizations to a leader in this perspective space. Ultimately, you have to be able to collect, consolidate, validate, and report and file on these regulatory requirements. But I think as you want to be scalable, can you adapt, or can your solutions and processes adapt to the changing and expanding regulations? Do you have the ability to monitor and optimize performance? And ultimately, to get to that leader, you move into integrating that financial data to link sustainability and value creation, enhancing that brand reputation and showcasing performance. So one of the things that Chris talked about earlier is, yes, the Omnibus is changing the requirements and the number of organizations that are subject to it. But fundamentally, organizations that choose from a culture and a strategy perspective to emphasize ESG because they believe it drives value and to their organization and their customers, reduces risk, they're going to want solutions that are built to elevate them to that leader phase. Now, our approach ultimately is a robust and modular ESG reporting solution. So as I talked earlier, we have the capability to capture and consume data from multiple data sources and apply modeling, consolidation logic, conversions natively within our solution platform. And then once that's done and you have the audit controls around who entered what or where that data came from, workflow, management, audit trail, and security constraints that are also important. You only want people able to see the data that they're entitled to see, be it at a legal entity level, a jurisdictional level, potentially even down to an operational cost center level. It really depends on the organization and how you've set that up. And what we're able to do is bring that ESG content together with our native financial data and deliver on a platform that gives you the audit controls, the security, the workflow capabilities, the blending of the financial, non-financial, qualitative, and quantitative data sets to be able to produce both your XBRL filing, your internal reporting, your glossy reports, and any kind of dashboarding and analytics that you might have. Okay. So our goal ultimately is streamlining that ESG data collection with that pre-configured model for CSRD compliance, as well as other frameworks. And once you have that in place, you then can incorporate it into your recurring close cycles, your data capture, review, analysis, and make sure that you're, when it comes to the reporting step, that data has gone through that consolidated and managed workflow, ensuring that the data is reliable, accurate, and ready for reporting purposes. Okay. So our approach ultimately is blending our regulatory expertise. We've been handling filing requirements, be it from an SAC, ESMA, other regulatory filings like EBA, IOPA, Solvency II. We've been doing that for roughly 20 years. And so we have that expertise on the disclosure management side. We also have that expertise of 20 plus years of consolidation, financial reporting, budgeting and planning capabilities. So the inherent consolidation, modeling, transformation, and consumption from various data sources if you do need to bring in content from other external sources, both outside your organization, but also inside your organization in the headcount and people side of things. If you're pulling data from, let's say, your HRM system into your final reporting solution set. Okay. And I'm being conscious of time, but we have a quick demonstration here that I will share.
Navigating the complex landscape of ESG reporting can be daunting. Manual processes, scattered data, and ever-changing standards often lead to inefficiencies and inaccuracies in reporting. Organizations struggle with outdated methods, relying heavily on manual data entry and disjointed systems, which stifle productivity and hinder effective decision-making. Imagine transforming your ESG reporting from a cumbersome task into a streamlined, automated process. Insight Software ESG provides the tools you need to create accurate, compliant, and visually compelling reports effortlessly. Let's explore how Insight Software ESG can empower your ESG journey. Insight Software ESG's dashboarding and analytics tool integrates sustainability metrics with financial data, offering a comprehensive view of your performance. Interactive dashboards allow for year-over-year KPI comparison and detailed analysis. Track emissions, diversity, and more with real-time data updates and drill-down capabilities that empower informed decision-making. Insight Software ESG's data collection tool supports multiple regulations, including the CSRD Directive, streamlining data gathering through intuitive navigation and predefined validation rules. Automated feeds and real-time validation ensure data integrity, facilitating seamless reporting and regulatory compliance. Insight Software ESG offers flexible data collection methods to suit your needs. Create automated data feeds from your ERP or other source systems. Enter data directly or upload it through Microsoft Excel. Report using pre-built templates or create your own. Easily filter and sort data by subgroups or define custom hierarchies. Dive deeper into details with drill-down functionality. Streamline disclosure reporting with Insight Software ESG. Create consistent, compliant reports effortlessly while crafting compelling narratives that showcase your sustainability initiatives. Enhance your reporting with dynamic visuals and interactive content, enabling seamless collaboration across your organization. Insight Software ESG automatically updates reports with the latest data, eliminating tedious manual revisions and ensuring your reports are always up to date. Meet the needs of all stakeholders by sharing reports in various formats, including Adobe PDF, Microsoft Word, and HTML. Streamline regulatory compliance by directly filing your CSRD-compliant ESG reports in XBRL format to the regulator with just a click. With Insight Software ESG, transform your data into actionable insights for your sustainability initiatives to help propel your business forward. Move beyond manual processes and embrace a streamlined, efficient approach to ESG reporting. Ready to elevate your strategy? Explore our solutions and discover the potential of your ESG data. Now, please select the areas that you are most interested in for your customized demo.
And with that, I will wrap up my section and turn it back over to Chris for moderation.
All right, thank you very much, Jamie. And for the Q&A, I would really like to welcome everybody on stage again. So Jamie, Mitch, Sean, and Andrew. And looking at the chat, I see at least one raised hand, but no question yet. So just to make sure you understood, feel free to type in any questions into the chat and I will direct them to our speakers. Also, we are a bit over time, so I would like to keep it short. But if there are any questions still open afterwards, feel free to reach out to us or to our speakers to get them answered. And at least I have some questions because, yeah, we saw a lot of different interesting approaches to ESG reporting coming from a data management and integration perspective over more specialized functions with the ESG cockpit and then the integration with the Office of the CFO with Insight Software. I would like to start with Sean and Andrew. Looking at your solution, would you guys say that at least in very complex scenarios with a lot of data, fragmented data, different data sources, different data responsibilities, and so on, it could make sense to have two solutions in place? One for data management, data integration, and then another one for the actual reporting process and getting the report published?
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, we see that probably with most clients, and whether it's one of the solutions that was listed here, or like was mentioned, custom build through whatever BI tool a client has, for sure, 100%. So it's kind of like I guess if you looked at it from a cooking perspective, the final cooking preparation and laying it out can be done kind of through one of these solutions. But do I have the right ingredients? Where do my ingredients come from? Are those ingredients good or are they bad? Do I have access to the right ingredients? All of that underlying element is what we do super well. So it's a really good question, Chris, and I do think that we absolutely see clients with kind of both the capabilities.
All right. Thank you, Sean. Thank you, Andrew, as well. Mitch, data quality was also part of your presentation. You showed at least some smaller graphics where it was also about data quality. I think I spotted like something like a data score as well.
Yeah.
But I mean, data management is important. We all know that. In the end, you mentioned different modules. You also mentioned your ESG portal. And I know your ESG portal can be used as a standalone solution and also in combination with the ESG cockpit. Could you probably shed some light on what else you're offering in regards of different modules and what's the difference between your cockpit and the portal?
Sure. I mean, the cockpit really is the ESG data management and reporting solution. And for when we first start collecting data from our stakeholders, we offer the ESG portal, because this is a customizable questionnaire that you can build and then send out to all the stakeholders along your supply chain. And when they input the data into the questionnaire, this can be directly fed into the ESG cockpit. So you don't need an additional software. Both of them talk to each other. So you can always be sure that the data is updated and accurate in your surveys.
Okay,
And the Scope 3 engine is the emissions factors calculator. So should any emissions factors not be present within the cockpit, we can use that to find the most accurate emissions factor.
All right, all right. So basically, would you need the portal to send out a questionnaire to stakeholders, suppliers, etc., or would it be possible to do that with the ESG cockpit alone as well?
No, you would need the ESG portal to do
Okay,
the questionnaires.
okay.
Yes.
Got it.
Yeah.
All right, thank you very much, Mitch. And
Welcome.
as we're over our schedule, one last question to you, Jamie. Looking at your solution and probably on all the changes going on from a regulatory perspective, but also in regards of AI, Gen AI agents, and so on. What's on your roadmap? Looking into the 1 year into the future, 2 years into the future, specifically for ESG reporting, is there anything in development you can probably already tell us, or what do you have planned for the future?
Sure, there's a couple things that we can talk about. One, certainly incorporating.
Jamie, I don't know if it's me, but I can't really hear you properly.
Can you hear me now?
Not really. I can hear you basically whispering, but I cannot hear you loud and clearly.
Let's try again.
Unfortunately not.
I'm not on mute. Is this better?
All right,
Let's try now.
Yeah, this works.
Okay.
Now it works.
I turned it off and turned it back on. So
sometimes the
very
easiest
quickly,
fixes work the best.
Very quickly, yeah, from a roadmap perspective, obviously looking to monitor the omnibus and potential changes coming out of that, and looking to invest in additional framework. So basically, we do believe that the frameworks will coalesce between the statutory and the voluntary, and we'll get more and more overlap over time. One of the things that we're looking at from an AI perspective is how we can both leverage AI agents to proactively monitor regulatory updates, not just with ESG, but across the board, and use those to alert and potentially update our data models if there's new components, as well as things around auto tagging with XBRL to do the first round of tagging as it relates to the requirements and the data points. And then the human in the loop becomes the final review and stuff. So there's a bunch of AI agentic investment over the next couple of years that we're focused on, and we've done some prototyping already this year around the XBRL front. But ultimately, it's how can we help organizations surface and model their data and be responsive to not just regulatory changes, but external macroeconomic factors, and incorporating those capabilities into our platform, given the nature of our solutions are intended to do sort of mid-range and long-range planning capabilities as well. So a lot of different areas of investment.
All right, thank you very much, Jamie, and thanks again to all of you speakers. It was a really cool webinar today, really cool presentations, and also, of course, thanks to our participants for tuning in. with that being said, I would like to end the webinar in a very short manner. Probably two more things to say. Save the date for our BARC launch party for our ESG survey, which is already published. So you can also download it, and a lot of the content and charts I showed you today came from this ESG survey, which we did for the third time in a row now. There is a lot of other content you can have a look into, but specifically I wanted to mention our ESG survey as well as our launch party. And we also prepared some practical steps forward to get you and your company CSRD ready. This will be included in our follow-up mail, so just have a look into your mails and watch out for our quick practical guide to get you CSRD ready. And with that being said, also feel free to get in touch with me, feel free to get in touch with our speakers to continue the conversation and answer everything which is not yet clear to you. And finally, a last thank you for tuning in, and have a great rest of your day, to our speakers and to the participants. Goodbye and see you soon.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good day. Thanks, Chris.
That's Chris.